Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So this channel is called Multipolar World Order, and I'm going to be covering China, Russia, and Iran. And I've noticed I've not covered Russia enough, so I'm going to try and do that today. Tomorrow or day after, I'm going to be releasing a Chinese agriculture program, so don't miss that. But let's focus on Russia today. Russia has been absolutely pummeling Ukraine right now. They are dropping bombs, hitting warehouses, even hitting five-star hotels. Ukraine's been absolutely hammered, guys. Absolutely hammered. So let's look at how far Russia is. So looking at the map, it looks like they've captured Konstantinovka and Liman, very two key cities in Donbas. And the next goal is to capture Slovyansk and Kramatorsk. And as you can see, they are not far behind Slovyansk, only 8 kilometers, and Kramatorsk is maybe 4 to 5 kilometers. These are the last two strongholds in Donbas. What I mean by the last two strongholds, I mean together with Slovyansk and Kramatorsk and Liman and Konstantinovka, together they held a very strong defensive line. And Ukraine has built this defensive line over 10 years, ever since 2014. It's been extremely difficult for Russia to break this. And this is one of the reasons why this war has taken so long. You know, they have been extremely dug in, and all of the infrastructure in these four cities especially have been very, very strong defensively, very strong. And Russia has been slowly and slowly edging towards them. And these were the last four cities which cover Donbas. If you notice, guys, you know, Luhansk has been completely captured by Russia, and Donbas only 60-70% has been captured. So these are the last four cities, and once Russia captures these last four cities, they would capture all of Donbas basically. So why is this important? It's important because capturing all of Donbas is one of the requirements for the SMO. There's other requirements for the SMO still yet to be finished. For example, one of them is to demilitarize Ukraine, which they're still doing, and that might take a long time. And also to denazify, which was another one for them as well. So they need to get rid of all of the Azov regiments and things like that. So there's still a lot of work for Russia to do. And I think the SMO has changed as well. In recent times, Ukraine has been firing long-range missiles into, deep into Russia, destroying oil facilities, gas facilities, even attacking Moscow. So I believe Russia has no choice but to go deeper inside Ukraine and capture key cities. And I'm going to explain what will happen next. So this shows what the plan is for Russia, basically. So once they capture Slovyansk and Kramatorsk, as you can see, once they capture them, there is no more defensive cities to stop the Russian advance from all the way from here, all the way to Dnipro, even all the way up to Kiev. Because you have to remember, these defensive positions in the Donbas have been set up for over 10 years. And part of the negotiations for peace, Russia asked Ukraine to completely leave that area and Ukraine basically refused. They basically refused for a number of reasons. Number one was because they've set up such huge defensive positions in those areas. It's going to be extremely difficult to set anything else up like this in any other cities, and that's the problem, and that's why they didn't want to let it go. And secondly, I think Ukraine knows if they let go of this area, there's nothing stopping Russia going all the way to Kiev and all the way to Dnipro. Nothing stopping them. So let's look at the interactive map. So this is the current interactive map of Ukraine. This is under liveuamap.com. So this is my understanding on what will happen next and what Russia really needs to do from here. So I'm going to draw some graphics just to kind of make you guys understand what the job at hand. So once Sloviansk and Kramatorsk has been taken, the next goal is to go all the way to Dnipro, because there's no more defensive cities stopping the Russian advance, after Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. And that was the last great defensive wall for Ukraine. So Russia will go all the way to Dnipro. They will basically use, you can see from these arrows. So Dnipro will be taken. So let's just say Dnipro will be a Russian city. Maybe it might be this year, maybe next year. We don't know. I mean, looks like the Ukrainian army is ready to collapse, guys. I mean, they have been absolutely hammered. And I don't think NATO or Europeans will be able to save Ukraine anymore, because they're absolutely broke right now. So this is what I think will happen next. Once Dnipro has been taken, I believe Russia's next goal would be to take Kharkiv. And as you can see, Kharkiv is already being surrounded by the Russian troops. And Kharkiv is a very important city for Russia, mainly because a lot of Russian speakers are still there, and Kharkiv used to be part of Russia. And also Kharkiv is second largest city in Ukraine after Kiev. So it's a huge city, and it's a hugely important city for Russia for many reasons, which I'll explain. So I think Kharkiv will be gone, Zaporizhia will be gone, and finally they will take over Kiev. The Belarusian president has been having meetings with Putin last few days, and now he's in China discussing the plans, and I believe something major is being planned, and with Belarus as well. So I believe Belarus will provide support for Russia, and they will provide support along this border area. And I think Russia's going to do a very quick prompt attack on Kiev and take Kiev very, very quickly. So this will do a number of things. First of all, this will force a lot of the troops from Odessa coming up north to protect Kiev, because I think all these months the Ukrainians thought that the Russians would take Odessa, but they haven't taken it yet. So there's a lot of Ukrainian troops basically stuck in Odessa. So when Russia basically goes for Kiev, I believe there's going to be a lot of troops moving from Odessa trying to protect Kiev. And when that happens, I believe Russia may take over Odessa, because Odessa is going to be pretty much free from Ukrainian troops. So this is going to be happening very, very soon. And what I can see happening is once Russia takes Kiev, Odessa, Zaporizhia, and also Kharkiv, and also Sumy as well. Don't forget Sumy. Russia will basically control everything on the east of the Dnipro River. And also, they will be controlling everything everything here as well. So all the southern parts from Odessa, Mykolaiv, will be taken by Russia. Okay, guys, I've cleaned it up a bit. So as you can see, Russia will take everything on the east of the red line that I've drawn. And also, I've highlighted all the major cities. If you notice, Kiev, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Odessa, these are massive cities. And why doesn't Russia need them? Russia will need control of these cities for a couple of reasons. Number one, security. So, as you know, Moscow and many other cities around Russia, lots of oil installation, gas installations have been attacked by Ukrainian long-range missiles. So Russia is having to go deeper inside Ukraine and take more land from Ukraine to protect Moscow. And it's completely understandable, because Moscow has to be protected at all costs. So if Russia takes Kiev, Kharkiv, Odessa, obviously Kherson, Zaporizhia, this provides Russia a nice protective belt over Moscow. So if there's a future war with NATO, NATO has to get through Kiev and Odessa and, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv. They have to get through these major cities in order to get to Moscow. So Moscow will be well protected. And Moscow also will be well protected in the air as well, because if Russia puts lots of anti-aircraft missiles and batteries and guns across these cities, then Moscow will be well protected from NATO long-range missiles or Ukrainian long-range missiles that might be coming from the west side of Ukraine. So this will be very much needed. Odessa is another issue. So if Russia takes on Odessa, they will completely block Ukraine from accessing the Black Sea. And that would mean, Ukraine becomes landlocked. And if Ukraine becomes landlocked, then Ukraine will lose maybe up to a third of its GDP, because a lot of Ukraine's trade goes through the Black Sea, because they supply grain to the rest of the world. And it goes through the Black Sea, goes through Turkey, into the Mediterranean, and from there they serve Middle Eastern countries or African countries. Because Ukraine, they have some of the best grains in the world, with wheat and other agricultural products. They have what you call black soil, and they have the best conditions to grow crops. So without the Black Sea, Ukraine will probably lose up to a third of its GDP. Also, they cannot get any weapons from the Black Sea as well. So they cannot get any weapon shipments from the Black Sea, because they'll be cut off. They will lose access to all Black Sea oil and gas resources. Russia will take that. And also, they cannot get any weapons or materials from Romania, Moldova as well. So that will be cut off. So the only access that Western Ukraine will have is from Poland or Hungary or Slovakia. However, I think that Russia has a plan for that. So once Russia gets access to all of these cities, and they secure these cities, and they secure everything to the west and south of Dnipro River, I believe Russia's next goal is probably going to be to join with Transnistria, make it part of Russia. And what that would mean, Transnistria, all of the troops in Transnistria, most of them are Russian anyway, they will join the fight. And I think what Russia may do to block more weapons access to Ukraine, I believe they will go all the way to Hungary and Slovakia. I believe they will do this. They might give some land to Hungary and Slovakia, because some of this land was taken from Hungary and Slovakia back in the Soviet days. So they might give away some of the land back to Hungary and Slovakia, and Russia will join up with Hungary and Slovakia. So what does that mean? It means that Hungary and Russia will have direct access. And Hungary is also linked to Serbia as well. They have a nice link between Serbia and Hungary. So if Russia can link up to Hungary, they can also link up to Serbia, and they can access Serbia by train or land or pipeline. And they can they can basically have a new pipeline going from Russia all the way to Hungary. And that can provide gas or oil to the rest of Europe. So I believe Russia might do that, actually, to be honest. And it will also cut off Hungary or Slovakia accessing Ukraine as well, and providing them weapons. So the only way that Ukraine would be able to get weapons and stuff like that would come directly from Poland. So this border here is from Poland. However, Poland claims that it wants Lviv. Lviv is around here. So it could be that Russia gives Lviv to Poland as a peace deal. So basically to stop weapons shipments going into Ukraine. And Poland might accept, because if Russia can basically get all of this land from Ukraine and win the war, I believe Europeans at this point and NATO will just give up. And Poland will be looking for a peace deal. And I believe they will give Poland the land back. And Poland will take this land back. And they will also take Lviv as well. And this will be done as a peace deal, as long as Poland doesn't provide Ukraine any weapons or any help or anything like that. So I believe there might be a deal on the cards for them to do that. So the only thing that's going to be left is Ukraine. John Mershamush says it's going to be like a rump steak, or Jeffrey Sachs, he says it's going to be like a Ukrainian rump steak. I say rump steak, but it's rump state. So I think that's going to be the end goal for Ukraine, guys. And I think once this happens, Europeans will give up on Ukraine, because it's going to be way, way too expensive for them to spend money on Ukraine. It's not going to be economically viable for them anymore, because Ukraine would have lost maybe 2/3 of its land. They would have lost access to the Black Sea. They would have lost huge amounts of infrastructure. They would have lost huge amounts of people. So Ukraine will not be economically viable anymore for the Europeans or for NATO, and I think they will just give up. There are talks that Finland is going to house nuclear weapons, so Finland might be the next country that NATO and the Europeans focus on, and they might just give up on Ukraine. I think that goes. I think at this point the Ukrainians will probably give up, and they will probably start hating on Europe for abandoning them. And I think this is when Ukrainians will wake up and think, we've been used by NATO, we've been used by Europe. They made us fight to the last Ukrainian. They made us lose all this land. And I think at this point the Ukrainians might wake up, and they might realize that the Russians are not the bad guys. It's actually the Europeans and the NATO guys who actually forced or made the Ukrainians fight Russia for their own benefit, for their own goals, and used Ukraine as a proxy So I think at this point, the Ukrainians might decide to turn on Europe, and especially Poland, for taking that much land from them. So that's probably going to be what I'm. That's probably what I'm basically estimating, guys, predicting. I'm not saying it's going to come true, but it's most likely this is the plan coming out of Moscow. This is what I would do anyway. Obviously, plans change, things change, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is realistic, or do you think this won't happen, or do you think Russia will take all of Ukraine? Let me know what you guys think. I don't think they will take all of Ukraine, because I think that's going to be too much work for Russia, because there's a huge populations of Ukrainians still, and these Ukrainians are always going to hate Russia. So I don't think Russia wants anything to do with them. I think it's better for Russia to give them their own rump state and let them deal with it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.